Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions, the mystery of numbers stations. Who is listening to the spy radio? Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. If you know where to look on the shortwave radio dial, you can still hear them. A voice, sometimes a woman, sometimes a child, sometimes a synthesized electronic voice, reading an endless stream of numbers or letters in a flat, mechanical tone. The broadcasts appear at regular intervals, last for specific durations, and repeat with variations that suggest an underlying system. They are called numbers stations, and they have been transmitting since at least World War II and possibly before. Governments have never officially acknowledged operating numbers stations. Intelligence agencies have never commented on them. But the signals are real, their source can be located to specific countries by triangulation, and the evidence strongly indicates they are a method by which intelligence agencies communicate with agents in the field. Numbers stations are a rare case of a mystery where everyone who studies the evidence reaches the same conclusion, but where the parties responsible maintain total silence. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the landscape of modern documented mysteries, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Human perception is fallible. This is not an insult, it is neuroscience. The brain does not passively record reality, it actively constructs it, filling gaps with expectation, inferring causes from insufficient data, and storing memories that are reshaped by subsequent experience. Eyewitness testimony is the weakest form of courtroom evidence precisely because what people see and what actually happened frequently diverge. Sound can cause visual hallucinations. Infrasound at specific frequencies can produce feelings of dread, the sensation of a presence, and even visual disturbances. Sleep deprivation, stress, and hypoxia can generate vivid experiences indistinguishable from waking reality. All of this is relevant when evaluating modern mysteries. Many apparently anomalous experiences have prosaic explanations rooted in human neurology, temporal lobe activity, hypnagogic hallucinations, shared social expectation shaping perception. A willingness to consider these explanations is not dismissiveness, it is intellectual hygiene. The brain is capable of generating extraordinarily convincing experiences that have no external cause, and yet the perceptual explanation has its limits. It cannot account for physical evidence, radiation burns, landing traces, electromagnetic interference on electronic equipment, or anomalous readings on calibrated instruments. When multiple independent witnesses, separated by distance, report identical details, mass hallucination strains credulity. When physical measurements corroborate subjective experience, the neurological explanation is insufficient. These are the cases that demand another look. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding numbers stations, who is listening to the spy radio, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. Numbers stations have been documented by radio enthusiasts since at least the 1960s. The Connect Project, an archival project that collected and released recordings, documented hundreds of distinct stations over 30 years. Characteristic stations include the Lincolnshire Poacher, UK intelligence, transmitting from Cyprus, the Spanish Lady, Cuban intelligence, and the Magnetic Fields Organization, Russian intelligence. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered numbers station broadcasts follow a consistent structure, a distinctive musical introduction or tone sequence, a group identifier, a message in numerical or alphanumeric groups, and a closing sequence. The message itself is typically completely opaque, encrypted using a one-time pad, which is theoretically unbreakable without the corresponding pad. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine one-time pad encryption, which numbers stations are believed to use, involves a random key used only once that is shared in advance between transmitter and receiver. If the pad is genuinely random and truly used only once, the cipher is information theoretically secure. It cannot be broken even with unlimited computing power. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, several confirmed espionage cases have involved numbers stations. In 1998, members of the Cuban WASP network spy ring were arrested in the United States. Court documents confirmed that the network received instructions via shortwave radio from a Cuban numbers station, listening on schedules found in their belongings. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of the station known as UVB-76, or the buzzer, a Russian shortwave frequency that broadcast a monotonous buzzing sound for years, began occasionally transmitting voice messages in Russian in 2010, fueling intense online interest. Its purpose remains unknown, but it is associated with Russian military communications. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding: numbers stations continue to transmit in the shortwave spectrum. Frequencies associated with Cuban, North Korean, and Russian intelligence have been documented into the 2020s, indicating that despite modern digital encrypted communications, the numbers station method remains in use. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations, and in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain numbers stations. Who is listening to the spy radio? This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that numbers stations are operated by intelligence agencies to communicate with agents in the field using one-time pad encryption over shortwave radio. The method is favored because shortwave broadcasts are impossible to block. The receiver does not need to transmit anything to receive the message, eliminating electronic signature, and the one-time pad provides unbreakable encryption. This is the overwhelming consensus among intelligence researchers. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that some numbers stations are operated by non-governmental organizations, including criminal networks, drug cartels, or arms trafficking operations that have adopted the same technology used by intelligence agencies for cover-T communication for their own operational security. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that certain numbers stations serve as a persistent broadcast of messages for agents who have gone dark or lost contact, maintaining a communication channel that agents can monitor even if contact has been lost, a dead drop in radio form. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding numbers stations, who is listening to the spy radio, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes the Cuban WASP network espionage case provides direct judicial confirmation that at least one numbers station was used for intelligence communication with field agents. The strongest available evidence for the spy communication hypothesis. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented direction-finding triangulation of numbers stations has consistently located transmitters on or near government property in countries including the UK, Cuba, and Russia, consistent with State intelligence operations. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed the technical characteristics of numbers stations, one-time pad structure, precise scheduling, and distinctive country-specific formats are consistent with professional intelligence communications protocols rather than amateur or random transmissions. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding numbers stations. Who is listening to the spy radio? Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. Numbers stations continue to operate in the 2020s, monitored by enthusiast communities who post recordings and frequency schedules online. The persistence of numbers stations in the digital age suggests that intelligence agencies continue to value their specific advantages: unblockable broadcast, undetectable reception, unbreakable encryption, over the convenience of digital alternatives. As geopolitical tensions increase, numbers station activity has reportedly increased in parallel. They are the oldest continuously operating covert communication system in the world, and they are still working. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of numbers stations. Who is listening to the spy radio? From the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of numbers stations ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.